Hi folks, you're with Tacitus at your Pushback channel, and thank you for joining this radio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about just how detached the Western bodies politic, this is all across the West, how detached they've become from the voters and the voters' aspirations and needs, requirements, and so on. Now, I think we all know that all Western politicians now report into the globalists are their bosses, the voters who maybe once were their boss or at least partially the will of the people and all that. That's gone by the wayside. That doesn't exist anymore. Certainly not in the West, and not in the emerging or re-emerging powers, China, Russia, that sort of thing. So what I recently noticed was I came across a report by a centre-right political party who had recently lost an election, and it was an investigating committee that had poured over all the reasons, and they had come up with their determinations as to why that party lost the election. And they didn't get trounced, but they probably did a little bit worse than they thought they would. Now, on basis of that, I then went back a few years or a couple of years to in another country, but again a Western democracy, or what was hitherto a Western democracy, and there a centre-left party lost, but by quite a bit actually in that instance. So I looked at both of the reports, and as to why they lost, they could have been written by the same person. So what were the essential sort of components of this report? Firstly was they had no real focus on policy. The idea that policies that dealt with what the people were concerned about, that really didn't rate a mention. The main concerns of the people and how to address them through political means, that also wasn't mentioned in the report. I mean, it was obliquely sort of referenced, but for example, the very large and very serious concern most people have over mass migration, which is without their consent. And the people's concerns are twofold. One, it was happening without their consent, and two, it's happening on such a scale that they're deeply concerned and believe it is changing their neighbourhoods and changing the whole dynamics of the social dynamics of the country. So the local population, the citizenry, is concerned about that, and they're asking and want their elected representatives to do something about it, which is how it's meant to work actually in a democracy. But in the reports, to what extent these things are even raised, and they're raised very gently, it's sort of in the background. It's not saying this is a major concern of the people and we need to address it. Far from it. It's mentioned in the footnotes, and the people who hold those views are written off as Nazis that shouldn't be pandered to or dealt with in any way. Now, and they're treated and depicted as some sort of micro fringe group that should be ignored, rather than the vast majority of voters. They don't even accept that notion. So the report is or both of them actually, are very dishonest in that regard. All the main and major concerns of the people are dismissed. And instead, globalist-inspired boutique issues. The people are concerned about transgender bathrooms. The people are concerned about trans rights. The people are concerned about global warming. The people are concerned about lesbian bathrooms. And so on. It goes on. The people are concerned that there aren't enough black lesbians in charge of they're concerned there aren't enough radical feminist lesbians in the parliament, and they just make it all up. The people aren't concerned about those things. The people that are concerned about it are the real micro fringe groups, or the globalist funded NGOs and that sort of thing. Or all the issues that spread mass social division in both these reports, they list as the headline issues that the voters are concerned about. So let me repeat that. The issues, transgender bathrooms and so on, that the issues or gender reassignment surgery on 12 and 13-year-olds, These things are, this is what people are concerned about. Everybody in the nation is clamoring for 12-year-olds to have gender reassignment surgery because it's life affirming, because it's freedom, and because anyone that disagrees with it is a fucking Nazi. Hitler! So none of the real issues are addressed in the report and these reports. And again, the globalist-inspired social division issues are brought out as the headline issues. This is what people are concerned about. Now, the dishonesty, of course, is mind-boggling and breathtaking, and the untruths are numerous and quite grotesque in their proportions. But they come down to sort of the grassroots issues of really what we have to do is change the candidates that we have sitting for Parliament, for the Congress, or whatever the political chamber's called, Senate or whatever. What we need to do, we have to identify more closely with the people. That's what we have to have: more black lesbians, more brown homosexuals. We have to have more transgenders. We have to have all the minorities fully represented and overrepresented, and that will deliver us political victory. So the essence of the report, not the essence, the clear message of the report is that policy, who cares? Addressing the concerns of the people, irrelevant, forget it, tell them to fuck off. What we have to do is we have to make the parliament as diverse as possible. We have to get as many low IQ minorities, and that is how we're going to relate to the voting public. And when the voting public see all those low IQ black lesbians standing for office, they'll know what a virtuous bunch of folks we are, and they'll vote for us. Policies be damned. I mean, who gives a shit? Our policy is to promote transgender bathrooms. That is our policy. Our policy is to have equity programs for black lesbians. That is our policy, and so on. Our policy is to expand gender studies courses for universities, taxpayer funded, and on it goes. So there are in fact no policies. They want to full on promote the politics of social division and social confusion and social upheaval. They want to undermine any integrity. We want courts that deliver white man guilty rape verdicts 100% of the time. Because that's what everybody wants. That's what the public wants. But doesn't the public want honest, independent courts of law that rely on facts and evidence? No, they don't. And anyone that wants that is a fucking Nazi. So both reports from the centre right and the centre left said that. Now, the centre right party did make some, just a slight nod, if you like, to policies might be considered important by some people, but that's so yesterday. It's so yesterday. This idea of policies and doing the hard work and the heavy lifting on policies, that's so yesterday. We want black lesbians, low IQ, and we want a special policy for black lesbian equity. That is how we're going to get voted in. That is how we're going to win the people over, and so on. And there was even a suggestion in the centre right paper that why bother with heavy policy lifting when transgender surgery for 12-year-olds is going to have a greater emotional impact on voting than some carefully thought out, hard worked policy on taxation reform, for example. The people won't understand it anyway. Why should we bother? It's not going to get us elected. That was an ad. No, I don't. I happen not to agree with that. And that's quite a cynical view. But in both papers, that both the political parties accepted, and again the left and the right accepted that really the globalists are in charge. The policies are in fact set by the globalists internationally, and we all have to sing from that same song sheet. And therefore, the very idea that we would do policy work is in itself silly, because that policy work's already done by the globalists, and we're told what policies. We have the policies imposed upon us, such as mass migration, by the globalists. And all that's left for us to do, the body politic in the Western countries, is to talk about transgender surgery and black lesbian equity programs and those sorts of things. That's all that's left for us. And we don't get any decision-making authority with anything else, because the globalists do all that stuff and tell us what we have to do. And that's a very chilling thought, because the bodies politic in the West, the guys who once were in charge, are just accepting that the globalists are now in charge, and there's nothing we can do about it. If the people don't like it, too fucking bad. We'll just give them lots of sugar and candy and tell them how moral we all are by having, black lesbian bathrooms or something like that. But that's all that's left for us to do. What our job now as politicians isn't to represent the people or to represent or address the those concerns. Our job is to clear the path, the way ahead for the globalist project that we are, that is imposed upon us by the globalists. And that's, if you read between the lines, that's a shocking admission, but I think it represents all political parties in the West now. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.